All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Eliminate Manual Bookkeeping and Unlocking Real-Time Cash Flow Insights with Receipt Bank. My name is Kate Egan, and I manage our account management and partner success teams here at Receipt Bank. So I've been with Receipt Bank for just over 4 years, and I've worked with thousands of partners along the way, like yourselves. So I'm always happy to answer questions that you guys have, whether it's today or in the future. So what are we going to talk about today? I'll give you a little bit more of an introduction to who Receipt Bank is and what we do. And then we'll spend some time actually talking about the power of process, right? And how to analyze your systems and how Receipt Bank supporters, how Receipt Bank can support you guys. And then we'll go through some actual Q&A throughout or at the end, and then hopefully ask your questions throughout and we'll get to them. So, who is Receipt Bank? We've been in business for just over 10 years now. We celebrated our 10th anniversary this month, which is really exciting. And we service over 400,000 small businesses and 50,000 plus accountants and bookkeepers globally. Across those businesses and accountants and bookkeepers, we process about 10 million plus receipts, not just receipts, I should say invoices and bills and other expenses per month, which ultimately, saves our partners and their clients 75,000 hours per week. Really what we're focused on is we want to make sure that we're providing accountants with the right tools to help small businesses be better. And so what that means is let's cut down on that manual data entry, right? And all of the information that you guys are spending your time having to do monotonous tasks for, and give you guys the tools and the data and the insight to advise your clients on ways that they can improve their businesses and take it that one step further and really achieve the goals that you've set out for them, they've set out for themselves, and to make you guys really that trusted advisor. So with all of that, right, let's actually talk about the power of process, right? Because when you think about your bookkeeping, right, we need to start from the very beginning, and not necessarily just with bookkeeping, but what does process actually mean? So why does process matter? As Gary Boomer says, a process is an organized group of related activities that together create value to clients. No single task creates the desired value. Value is created by the entire process. And this is really, really important because of just, it's the sum of all your parts, right? If you have one process that is A+, it is fantastic, you're really proud of it, it's giving you guys that desired outcome, but then you have another process that falls flat, think about your client's experience, right? Think about the ways that it's impacting them. And when they walk away thinking about working with your firm, if they had one bad experience on one process, it's going to take away from the other. So it's all really adds up and combines with one another to make sure that you guys are actually setting good processes across the board. So what Receipt Bank aims to do, and we'll talk about how this then goes back to process, is we are aiming to help you guys get the data from your clients so you can add value to that data and that information, right? If your clients want more insight and more, advice on how to run their businesses, where they can be spending more, where they should cut their spending, right? Maybe what suppliers they should be utilizing. The only way for them to get that information to you, or to get that service from you, is to actually provide that data to you. So it's all cyclical, right? And that's where we need to start to develop the processes to make sure that this part is as seamless as possible. So in working with over 50,000 firms globally, right, what we've been able to see is what sets the best firms apart. And what that means is that these are the firms that are thoughtful about their process and actually make process happen rather than letting process happen to themselves. Those are the ones that are successful because they have put goals in place, they've documented it, and they're consistently reviewing it to ensure that they actually know what's happening over time and that they're constantly evolving it, right? Nothing's gonna be perfect forever. So, quick question for you guys. How often is your practice reviewing its processes? Is it weekly? Is it once or twice a month? Is it quarterly, once or twice a year? Maybe you're not reviewing them that often at all. All right. Excellent. So let's go into actually analyzing your systems. So let's take the bookkeeping process. This is one that is most aligned to Receipt Bank and one that you guys are all pretty familiar with, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to think about how could we look at this process and start to analyze it a bit further. So the first step in your bookkeeping process, right, is getting items from your clients. So this is where you could have some potential pitfalls, right? So that could be your clients aren't consistently getting you information. It could be that they're just not sending you information whatsoever. It could be that they send it into you, months later, right? And so those are some potential pitfalls. Then when we actually talk about getting data from these transactions, what are potential pitfalls that you could have there, right? Maybe they give you their pile of receipts, but they're faded, right? They've got stains on them, they're crumpled, you just can't gather the information off of them. Provides a lot of back and forth with the client, right? To understand, hey, tell me a little bit more about what's happening with this transaction. What did you guys spend it on? I can't really tell from this receipt. Do you remember? Right? There's a lot of back and forth that happens with the clients, and it puts a lot back on the clients because they actually spend a lot more time handling the bookkeeping than they actually initially realized. Then you have to enter that data into your system, right? So some potential pitfalls there is the manual data entry, right? You risk that human error, especially if you've got people, your team members that are entering in a lot of transactions, right? You get fatigue. You could have duplicates that go in, right? Because it's not a perfect system. So that's where you could have some, potential downfalls. And then you actually have to get that information into your accounting software, right? So you need to match that information with the bank feed, with the bank statement, and make sure it all aligns. And, there are often times where you might not have all the information you need to make that happen. So when we think about old process, right, this is where you're starting to make that analysis of where could things fall short and where do we need to, fill those gaps. When you think about the new frontier, right, if you guys were to bring in Receipt Bank or other technologies, right, it's all about how can we cut down on that data gathering process, right? So digitizing the document collection, whether it be through handheld or through other submission methods, right? So your team isn't having to go through that back and forth. Automation, right? So getting that key data extracted and not relying on humans to do that, but allowing the machines to do that. So that way the humans can do it from more of a, let me do a review rather than having to do everything. And then managing, right? Publishing into your accounting software, right? So allowing the accounting softwares and technologies to speak to one another so you're not having to do that constant back and forth. Again, it's allowing your time to be spent on review and putting your expertise in rather than having to do those monotonous tasks. So that's an example of how you can start to analyze your processes and where you can make improvements. Right? So I think some key questions that you should ask yourself along the way when you're analyzing the process, whether it be the bookkeeping process, whether it be your new client onboarding process, or any other process that you guys have within your firm, right? It's the first question is always, how many steps does this process have? Is it 5 steps, 10 steps, right? And how much time does each step actually take? Is it that each step takes 10 minutes, an hour, right? That's where you can start to see all of that building and adding up on one another. And you think about bookkeeping, for example, bookkeeping isn't just about the time spent, mentally entering in that information into your accounting system. It's also about the other steps around it of collecting that information from your clients and the back and forth and all the review process as well. Once you've realized how much time, right, it's then which business functions or team members are involved in this process. Is this just a one-man band, right, one-man process? Is this just the bookkeeping team, for example? Does it involve other members within your firm, right? And who touches it? How many stakeholders are within that process? And what is that actual impact of the total cost and quality of the process? Right? So for example, if you have team members that should be spending their time working on more advisory services, but they're doing more clerical functions, right? You're not taking advantage of everything they could be doing with clients, right? And so meaning to separate that out and make sure that you have the right people doing the right activities. And so think about what opportunities exist to improve this process once you've asked yourself these questions, right? Where could I make these changes? Maybe they're small, maybe they're large, but what is out there to help me? Could I leverage technology to help me on some of these steps? And what do I have available either already within my practice or that's available out in the market? So once you've asked yourself those questions, you've created this new process, it doesn't end there, right? You actually need to execute. So these are the four critical steps to making these processes a success. So the first is documenting the process, right? So think about once you've created that process, you have to write it down. I've done process changes with my own team, and if someone's been doing something a certain way for a long time and then you change it up on them, they might revert back to old ways just out of habit, and just out of that's what they know and they're comfortable with. If you don't have it documented, then you're not going to have an easy way for someone to review, oh, this is what I should be doing now. So this should be a living, breathing document. You should have an owner, right, within your firm of who is responsible for maintaining this document to ensure that all the processes are up to date. But it's really important to be able to always look back on what that process is so you guys can scale accordingly. Or if you have some people that are having some challenges adopting that new process, can always look back on it. Then comes team training. So you can't just document and hand that document over to your team and expect, okay, here you go, good luck. You really need to get their buy-in, right? You really need to make sure that they have a good understanding of what's changed, why it's changed, and how it's going to impact them and their work and your client base accordingly, right? And so that's where you can really start to see them excel. With that, you also need to set expectations for a rollout plan and a timeline. So it's not just going to happen overnight, right? Whatever outcomes you're hoping to achieve with this new process that you've created, you need to set realistic expectations for when you should see that ultimately happen, and then work backwards from there, right? So by month 1, we need to achieve X. By month 3, we need to achieve Y. By end of year, we should be at Z. So this is what helps you guys set those expectations and those milestones to make sure that this plan is going accordingly. And then think about feedback gathering, right? So it's really important to make sure that the new processes that you've put in place are actually effective and that it's helping your team members. So you don't want to create a new process that is only going to add more work to their plates. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt. People can be resistant to change. So it might be, oh, it's just easier the old way because it's what they knew. Versus, what this extra step is actually causing me to spend this much more time. Let's take this step out, or could we evolve it and tweak it because I don't think this is necessarily at this point. So it's really important to gather that feedback along the way because it's not going to be perfect the first time around, and should always be evolving and changing. So this is where you can kind of have these 3 points to think about when you're measuring success, right? So always gather team feedback, make sure that it is constructive, not complaining, and make sure that but it's also great to make them feel like they have a voice in what this process changes. Monitor improvement goals, right? So we just talked about setting those milestones along the way. Make sure that you guys are actually staying true and accountable to what progress you're making. And if you're not making progress, right, then try testing new approaches to reaching those same goals. So there's no harm in evolving mid-process. You just need to make sure that you're doing so in a thoughtful manner. Once you've done these evaluations, right, and you've started to make these process changes, these are some of the benefits that you guys can have from that, right? So growth could be one. Maybe with this process change, it allows you guys to find new clients and offer new services because you save time on one aspect of your business that frees up time to do something else. Helping with improvement, right, of increasing efficiency. Increased efficiency means widening your margins, right? Really important to being successful. Think about the personal side too, right? So when you guys shift your processes to help cut down on time spent doing, monotonous tasks, or that's actually going to give you guys more time back or what have you, this will help you improve that work-life balance. We're all right now in most of us at least are in a work from home environment. right? So needing to make sure that you can actually close your laptop at the end of the workday and not be working into 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night or on the weekends, so you can actually spend time with your friends and family when you want to. This is also a great way to help increase staff retention. So if you have your team involved in recreating and evaluating these processes, then they're going to feel more involved, more part of that decision, and they'll be happier, right? They'll feel like they have a stake in the game. It also helps them realize that they can start to upskill. So if you have people that you should be focusing more on advisory services rather than clerical work, it gives time for those focusing on clerical work to start to upskill into the advisory, because they can do some shadowing, right? They can have additional side projects to help get them into kind of that higher skill value mindset. So a lot of value can come out of evaluating your processes. You need to be methodical about it. You need to be thoughtful about it. Don't try to change all of your processes at once. But when you guys are starting to make those evaluations within your firms of what your processes look like, aim for these goals and make sure that you're measuring your success along the way. So with that, let's actually talk about how Receipt Bank can make your processes more efficient, especially when it comes to bookkeeping. So this is, I think, a really good image of all the different services that you guys could be providing at your firm, right, to your clients, and all the different functions that you guys need to touch, right? So you have engaging with clients, right, and actually putting those contracts together. Then you need to collect the data and information from your clients, from bills, receipts, expenses. That influences payroll. Time tracking influences payroll. You might also offer bill pay services. And then working with your general ledger, and from the general ledger, having reporting happen, right? So these are all the different functions that you guys can look at. Think about what your processes are across each function and where you might want to go. And so here are just some apps that fall into each of these categories. Receipt Bank sits here at the beginning, right at that document and data and information collection from clients when it comes to their expenses. So you guys can be more advisory, right, when it comes to the reporting on this side of things. So before we dive into what it actually looks like on the Receipt Bank side, what tools are you currently using in your client accounting tech stack? QuickBooks Online or Desktop, Xero, HubDoc, Bill.com, something else? Would love to know. Give you guys a few moments to answer that. And maybe it's more than just one, right? We have a lot of people that have overlaps, as you saw from that previous image. So important to have overlapping technology. Excuse me while I drink some water. All right, perfect. So thank you guys for answering that. So let's talk about Receipt Bank. When you think about the bookkeeping process, right, as we mentioned, step one is just collecting that information from your clients. And how do we make that as simple as possible? The first part of that is actually introducing them to what Receipt Bank is. So what we've done with our mobile app, and mobile is where we see about, I'd say 50 to 60% of submissions on a monthly basis come from mobile submissions, which is obviously a big chunk, right? 10 million plus transactions processed per month. That's 5 million from mobile. So with the SMS invite, what this allows you to do is it sends your client a link to download Receipt Bank, and it pre-fills with their information. All they have to do is choose a password. Once they've done that, they can immediately start taking pictures. So it makes it really simple and easy for your clients to get started. So when you're thinking about your client setup process, right, you don't have to worry about that face-to-face meeting happening and getting them started to walk them through it. As soon as you add your client to our dashboard, they can get started. I do recommend whenever you're getting a client started that you obviously talk to them, hey, you're going to get this invite from Receipt Bank or to download, just so they don't think, what is this random text message that I'm getting? Always important. But the idea here is when you think about cutting down on time spent in your processes, this is a really easy way for your clients to start getting those documents to you in the snap of a finger. With the mobile app, right, think of this as a handheld scanner. And oftentimes what can happen in the bookkeeping collection process, right, is that your clients have so many different types of documents, sizes of documents, that it's not just as simple as handing them in. So when you think about the mobile app, it's a handheld scanner that allows them to take pictures of all those different types, right? So you can have your small one-off receipt, you could have your 3-page invoice, or you could have, maybe you have clients that really want to capture the 5-foot-long CVS receipt, right? And all those coupons that come with it. With the combined mode, it allows you to actually, or the client, to take pictures and stitch those images together. That way it comes through as one rather than separate, right? So it eliminates that kind of back and forth that a client might be having of how do I submit what and when, and it's just take a snap of the picture and go from there. Within our mobile app, your clients can also make some more notes and indications to you guys about what those documents are for, which is obviously really helpful in terms of the back and forth. Which leads me into our targeted comms. So within Receipt Bank, you actually have the ability to message your clients directly whenever you have questions about certain transactions. The beauty of this, right, is it shows them the actual image of the document, so they know exactly what you're talking about and can respond to you within from their mobile into our web app. When you think about process, right, and taking this back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right, you don't have to have long email chains where things get lost in, right? You don't have phone calls back and forth with the clients. Maybe use text message your clients, depending on, the relationship you have with them. Things can get lost in a text thread. When you use our targeted comms, it allows you to have an audit trail of the conversation around that specific document. The client knows exactly which one you're talking about, and you can get an answer within minutes, right, of them receiving that initial question from you. So that is the mobile. Now I'm going to jump into what it actually looks like in Receipt Bank once you guys have those documents in. All right. Perfect. Hoping it didn't auto log me out. So this is Receipt Bank. This is where you guys are going to see all of your clients listed out in one place. So here you'll see all these different names. We have them listed as different demo accounts for the different accounting softwares that we integrate with. Think of these as your client names. So this is where you could have each individual client set up here. You'll know exactly how many items are sitting in their inbox to be actioned and what they're integrated with. So as I mentioned, we have other submission methods outside of the mobile app. So in order to access them, you'll click on this Add Documents button, and this is going to showcase to you all the other different submission methods we have. So maybe your clients, maybe you're doing cleanup work, right? And you're just getting started and you need to just backlog all of the different, documents they've sent you over the past year. This is where you can actually drag and drop those files into Receipt Bank so we can do it en masse for you. You can do 50 documents per upload, and you can upload as many as you want throughout the day. With Receipt Bank, you guys get actually unlimited transactions and submissions, which is fantastic. So really easy way to get those, bulk upload items. Another submission method that I really love is our invoice fetch. So what you can do is you connect to we have over 2,000 suppliers that we work with, and we're adding to them weekly, where you can actually log in to your client's portal. Amazon is a great example, or your utilities bill like Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, what have you. And once you log in once, we'll then automatically grab those expenses moving forward. So you don't have to think about going back and forth with your client. They don't have to think about, did I send that document in? We'll just grab it for you. So it's a really great way to just start with that automation when you think about that process and cutting down on time spent back and forth. And then finally, we have our email in. So with Receipt Bank, each user gets their own unique Receipt Bank email address that they can forward digital transactions to. You can even give this to suppliers and they can send those documents in. So if maybe they're not on our supplier portal, maybe they don't even have their own invoice, their own portal. Maybe you're in a more rural area. This is a great alternative to getting those documents into Receipt Bank. So the whole reason to go through all of these is that essentially with Receipt Bank, we've created submission methods so you guys, your clients don't really have an excuse not to get you guys that information, right? And you can start to think of how can I easily get that information in this part of the process from my clients, where before it might have been a lot of back and forth and sifting. So now let's look at the inbox. This is where you're going to see on the left-hand side how you access the inbox and all of our other workspaces for our clients. I think the thing about Receipt Bank is our name can be misleading. We handle a lot more than just receipts. And so we handle bills, right? Invoices, statements. We do expense reporting, sales, etc. So I'm only going to go show you guys the basics today, but just know that there's a lot more that we can do. So this is where you guys will see the inbox here. We have it sorted where you can look at items that are ready and items that you need to review. To review essentially means that we don't have enough information where we feel confident that you should publish this over into your accounting software, and we'll let you know what information we're still looking for. As you can see here, we still need you to fill out the category field. So let's go into one that's ready. So to actually look at the inbox here, I'm going to click into one of these documents. On the left-hand side, you'll see an image of the transaction, right? And on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the information that we've extracted. So again, this is not anything that was manually keyed in. This is all information that we took off of the receipts itself. So we'll figure out the type of document it is, the date on that transaction, who the supplier is. We'll let you know if that supplier isn't currently present in QuickBooks, so you know it's going to create a new one. And then we'll also fill in other fields as well. So category, this is going to be pulled over from your, let's say, QuickBooks Online account, right? It's your chart of accounts. How do you want to code that transaction? We also have the ability to pull over customers and class and location in terms of what, if those fields are necessary for you. So again, we're extracting all this information. You're not keying it in. You can then set further supplier rules to help you cut down on that time spent reviewing moving forward. Receipt Bank will also has an aspect of machine learning where we'll start to remember some of your behaviors. So if you're consistently coding Starbucks as meals and entertainment every single time, we'll go ahead and set that category rule for you. But the beauty is you can always edit that. So think of it as controlled automation. You, at the end of the day, have the final say of what goes into your accounting software, and you can teach Receipt Bank just how far you want that automation to go. You could go as far as having us auto-publish, which is really great for consistent transactions like your utilities bill that are coded and paid the same way every single time. You can add additional notes down here, and then you'll see the total amount extracted. You'll then see the payment method extracted, so what method was actually used, and then where is it going to go in QuickBooks Online if I'm publishing it that way. You'll also see here that we've extracted all of the different line items off of this transaction, so you guys can code them if they need to be separated out, and we've done this automatically. So once you've reviewed the transaction, you can make changes if you want to. So let's say I wanted to make this 70 instead. Then you'll see that check mark when it happens. We'll put that back so it doesn't mess up in the future. And then all you need to do is click publish. Once you click publish, what will then happen is it's going to go into QuickBooks Online and it's going to look at both the payment method that you selected, right? What credit card or bank account is that associated to? And then look for that matching transaction for you guys along the way or within that bank account. So what you'll see here is one record found. All you need to do is click match and then it's reconciled. If you're curious what it looks like, then when you're looking at your expenses register, you can see that there's going to be a number and it's going to be RB and then a bunch of numbers after that. So if I click into this bill, for example, I'll see all the information that was extracted from Receipt Bank is going to then automatically be created in this bill for you. And then down below, you'll also see an image of the transaction attached. So you'll have it both in Receipt Bank and within QBO or your other accounting softwares, depending on what you're integrated with. So that's what kind of the overall process looks like. Once you've published it over into QBO, you'll then have your archive here within Receipt Bank. So we never delete anything. You can always access it in the future. So it's a really great way to make sure that you always have copies of your different transactions to ensure that you guys have all the information necessary from your clients. So that is a very quick overview of what Receipt Bank is and how the process works. There's some other, that's the basics. What we have done, oh, excuse me, we just launched our new inbox. Look, there's another column in here that I haven't really touched on yet, and this is called our match column. So this is something where we've created tools, just like I was saying before, to help you guys cut down on that back and forth and making sure that you have clean data. So in our matching transactions column, you might see images for one being called paperwork match. What this allows you to do is if you have clients that no matter how much you ask them, they just don't send those documents in on time, so you have to close out those books at the end of the month. If they then realize that they found that document and they send it later on, Receipt Bank will recognize that that transaction's already been reconciled. So all you need to do is click the image that will be here, and it will put that image over to that reconciled transaction and archive this for you so you don't create duplicate transactions, right? So cutting down on potential errors. We also have something called Bank Match, which will give you, you can connect your bank feeds in Receipt Bank, and it will allow us to then say, great, this transaction has come in on the bank feed, so you can confidently 100% publish it over into your accounting software with this payment method specifically. With that, we also have something called request paperwork. So what that allows you to do is by connecting your bank feeds in Receipt Bank, we can then look at all the items that are still missing that have not been reconciled. And then you can send that report to your clients at the end of the month to say, these are the ones that I'm still waiting on from you. Can you send them in? So a really quick and easy way to get that information to your clients of what you still need from them without having to download reports all of yourself. So again, really quick overview of Receipt Bank. There's a lot more that we can do, but wanted to start there. So if we go back into our webinar here, the one thing I wasn't able to show you because it's part of our optimized platform is our client efficiency metrics. So Receipt Bank has two different product levels that you can get started on. You have Receipt Bank Streamline, which is what I just showed you, which is kind of the core functionality of what Receipt Bank does. And then you have Receipt Bank Optimize. Within Receipt Bank Optimize, we have our client efficiency metrics, which essentially allows you to take your advisory services one step further and also reviewing your processes, right? So you can look at things like client efficiency. How quickly, once your clients take a picture, or sorry, make an expense, then take that picture and to send it to you, what does that delay day look like? If it's over 7, we can measure that. So you can then say, if it's over 7 days, then I need to talk to that client and get ahead of those bad behaviors. You can also look at the efficiency of your team members, right? How quickly are they actually processing transactions once they're in the inbox? What's the longest outstanding transaction that we still have? And make sure that your guys are getting on top of it. So it allows you to really plan and allocate your team resources to figure out how much time is necessary to dedicate to certain clients. And again, thinking about processes, how much can you really make leaner, right? And still be as effective as possible. So next steps. What does success with Receipt Bank look like? When you get started with Receipt Bank, there's a lot of perks that are involved. So the first is you actually go through a 30-day intensive onboarding program with one of our partner success consultants, followed by a long-term point of contact with your account manager or account development consultant. You also have the option to have one-on-one advanced product workflow solutions and sessions with a partner success consultant, right? So it's not just in your onboarding process and then you're not gonna have that advice later on. You can have this happen throughout your lifetime as a Receipt Bank partner. We offer live product trainings and advanced live product trainings on a weekly basis to get your entire team trained up. And then as you bring on new staff members in the future, right, you'll always be able to give them that access. We also have on-demand learning, but there's something about live product trainings that I think are really, really helpful. We also have client live product training, so your clients can learn how to use Receipt Bank from us to help you with that onboarding process. We've got lots of different onboarding tips and tricks that we can share with you about how to talk to your clients, how to identify which clients you want to start with. So a lot that we can get in depth with you on. And then by becoming a Receipt Bank partner, you'll have exclusive access to our Orange Select accounting community. And so what this allows you to do is actually connect with our 50,000 plus accountants globally to understand how they've actually made Receipt Bank a success. What challenges did they have in getting started? What did they do to overcome those? What's been working really well for them? And how did they shift their pricing models, right? How did they get their team buy-in? Lots of different topics. And so it's a great way to connect with your peers globally to really understand what's out there. So, what do you guys have available to you? So if you guys are interested in learning more about Receipt Bank and getting access to that, we can set you guys up with a call with one of our new partner consultants. You guys can also try Receipt Bank free for 30 days through our free trial. This is going to be on the Receipt Bank Streamline platform, and it's a great way to get your hands dirty and understanding just what Receipt Bank will do and how it can work for your clients immediately. So, quick poll question. Are any of you guys interested in learning more about the Receipt Bank platform? And based off of how you guys rate your interest, then we'll get in contact accordingly. So appreciate it. And so this comes to the end of kind of our session here. What I want to do is open it up for Q&A to see what questions you guys have.
And Kate, we did have, after the poll is answered, we did have one question I want to get in front of you first from Katie,
Okay.
Katie Harris. And that question was, when you email in a document, it loses the information in the email, and I'm assuming the body she's talking about. So where a client might tell you where to code or additional details for the receipt. What is your suggested workaround for this?
Yeah, Katie, that's a great question. So the way the Receipt Bank email-in works is that we will pick up on items that are either in the body of the email or if they're attachments. So Katie, it sounds like what you're describing is in the scenario where there's an attachment to the email, that's when we won't pick up on the body. What I've seen some of our partners do is if their clients send them the email first, they'll then embed that image into their email and send it into Receipt Bank if they want to have all that information collected. So that's one option. Additionally, right, you have that targeted comms option. So because it will be sitting in the inbox, you can then actually message your client about it if you need that further information. Clients can additionally add in notes on the mobile app to the description section. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of get your clients to be more involved in adding in that information if it's not going to be picked up via email. But great question. All right, what other? Another question from Charles, do you white label or does all communication to the client have your firm name on it? Great question, Charles. So when you guys first, you can add your logo into Receipt Bank, and what that will do is when you first send that information and your client is logging in, they'll see your firm logo on there. Moving forward, it will be from the Receipt Bank app, so they'll know that it's from there. When you are talking about that with your clients, I think it's important for them to know just which tools they'll be communicating with you on. And so knowing that it's Receipt Bank is coming from you is key in that.
And Kate, they're asking, if you go to the next slide, I believe, how they can get in touch with us if they have contact questions.
Yes, great question. So you can reach us at support@receiptbank.com if you have further questions, and so someone from our team will get in touch with you. Perfect. Any other questions? I can't see in the Q&A section.
Looks like we have another question in terms of security of the platform. So how safe is this platform? Because we know cloud and data security is always important, especially with financial information.
Yes, that's a great question. So we comply with GDPR guidelines, given our headquarters are in London, and we use Amazon Web Services as our cloud storage. So we have, I can't off the top of my head remember all the different certifications and accreditations we've gotten, but we are very secure. Essentially, think of it as bank level security. If you trust your bank, you can trust us. We've never had any issues of data breaches or anything like that. So, but our servers are hosted via Amazon Web Services, which a lot of other tech firms, as you guys are well aware of, are also hosted through Amazon. Great. Keith, are there any other? I can't seem to.
I think I think all the questions have been answered. If you guys have any other questions, it looks like we have one more. Oh no, Barinder, thank you. I'm glad we answered your question. If you all have any other questions, please let us know. But I believe may have all our questions answered at this time. So please reach out to us at support@receivbank.com or partners@receivbank.com if you have any additional questions. I think the last question was from Dan. Does Receipt Bank have the capability of fetching bank statements?
Great question, Dan. So we do not fetch bank statements. What we can do is you can actually connect your bank to Receipt Bank for us to gather the bank feed. We do have the ability to extract bank statements. So if you guys send us your PDF of the bank statements, we can extract all that information for you and put it to a CSV, and you can then put that into your accounting software. So we do work with bank statements, but we do not fetch them automatically.
Great. Awesome. So I think that's and then the last one from David, does Receipt Bank connect to a POS system for sales data?
At this point in time, we do not connect to a point of sale system. What we can do is we can, if your clients are maybe handwriting their own sales invoices, or if you're using a third-party system that generates those invoices, you can put them into Receipt Bank, just like we extract information off of your bills, receipts, invoices, etc. We'll do the same on the sales side, and then we'll publish them over into QuickBooks Online as a sales invoice. So we built out that functionality within the last 6 months, and we're continuing to evolve it. At this point in time, we do not integrate directly with a point of sale system, but we do have the ability to extract that information if you have those documents. Great question.
Kate, one of the big questions that's come up a couple of times is what are the core systems that in the accounting space that we integrate with?
Yeah, so our primary integrations are QuickBooks Online and Xero for your general ledgers. We also work with Sage Business Cloud. Our kind of secondary integrations are Bill.com and Gusto here in the US. We are also working on our QuickBooks Desktop integration, so you'll see that coming from us very soon. We do have a lot of partners that do work with Desktop and us right now. They utilize the batch enter functionality. But we will have a more direct integration coming in the near future for desktop. So again, that's QuickBooks Online, Xero, Sage, Bill.com, and Gusto.
Awesome. And then I think the last thing I see here, is there any training, and I think you may have touched on this, but is there any training or onboarding support for clients?
Absolutely. So we host on a weekly basis a client live product training webinar. So I think it's about 15 minutes where your clients will learn all the different submission methods and how to use Receipt Bank. Beyond that, we can then do more customized training sessions between you and your clients if that's helpful. Meaning, more one-on-one webinars. We have different flyers, right? So it really depends on the needs that you guys have for what client training means to you guys. But we definitely have the foundations covered.
Awesome. And Linda just came in with, do you integrate with asset/include software? I'm assuming, Linda, you mean asset management systems. But if you want to clarify for that, that would be great. But I'm believing she's meaning asset management software systems.
Not directly. So again, the ones that we integrate with directly are QuickBooks Online, Xero, Bill.com, Sage, and Gusto. If you guys want to use Receipt Bank for other systems, you can always have the ability to download information from your inbox or your archive. So we have different CSV formats that you can download, and then you can put them into other systems as long as they are CSV compatible. So those are other ways and methods that our partners have utilized Receipt Bank if they're not directly integrated with one of our partners.
And that's why if you don't know if it's going to be a great integration, that's why that trial period is great, because you can test these upload methods and see, the efficiency savings and time like that. So definitely if you're on the edge, you're like, hey, take out the 30 days, you get to try the core product and all the features and just see exactly how it works for you and both your clients. So it's a great
Yeah.
chance.
And during our free trial period, you have the opportunity to work with one of our partner success consultants. So you're not going to necessarily be floundering and trying to figure it out all on your own. So if you guys are curious how it's going to look, just like Keith said, take out that trial, get your hands dirty, and just test it out on your own account or on some practice client accounts, and we'll be here to support you.
Awesome. Well, if there's no final questions, Kate, I think we'll let everyone get on with their day. But like we said, reach out to us if you have any questions. Anyone that indicated in the poll, Kate or myself or a member of our team will be reaching out to you so that we can give you some more information on how to get started with that trial or get you set up with the team if you like it. So yeah, thank you again for everything. Thank you, Kate, for presenting and giving us all the information that's available to us. And we hope, Kate, everyone has a great day. And Kate, if you want to give us a sign off.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for taking 30, 45 minutes out of your day and spending some time with me. Again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. I'm always happy to talk about Receipt Bank and just what we've done with our partners, again, with 4 years plus of experience. So always give us a shout. We're here to help. So thanks again, everyone.
Keith, everyone, thank you for being here. I will get the recording and handout here to everyone later today. Thank you all so much and hope to see you at the next Insightful Accountant webinar. Have a good day.